The fluorescent lights buzzed in the empty high school hallway, their flickering casting shadows on the lockers. A single mop leaned against a wall, abandoned mid-cleaning. The faint smell of bleach lingered, sharp and antiseptic, cutting through the chill of the late afternoon. Ethan, a 12-year-old boy, skidded around the corner, tears streaking his cheeks, his backpack bouncing violently with each hurried step. He collided softly with Mr. Thompson, the janitor, who was stooped over the mop bucket, scrubbing stubborn scuff marks into the tile. "Whoa, hey there, kid," Mr. Thompson said, steadying Ethan gently. His voice had a soft gravel, the kind that came from decades of quiet labor and whispered encouragements to students who nobody else seemed to notice. Ethan sniffled, his voice cracking. I can't do it anymore. They laughed at me." Mr. Thompson's brow furrowed. He had seen tears before, yes, but there was a rawness to this one, a kind of helpless despair that gnawed at the soul. He set the mop aside and crouched to meet Ethan's eyes. "Tell me what happened," he said. Ethan buried his face into Mr. Thompson's worn sweater. It's everything. Math, gym, lunch, even my own friends. I just can't do anything right. And everyone keeps laughing." Mr. Thompson's chest tightened. He'd seen this before, kids who felt invisible, lost in the endless chatter of school corridors. But he also knew something else. Kindness, even small gestures, could anchor someone when the world seemed too heavy. "You know what," he said, placing a rough hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Sometimes the world feels heavy, but you've got to let someone help you carry it. You're not alone, all right?" Ethan shook his head. No one cares." "They do," Mr. Thompson said softly. "I care." The bell rang from the main office, echoing hollowly. Ethan wiped his face with the back of his sleeve, trying to breathe. And then, a sudden commotion erupted. The front doors slammed open with a force that made the glass tremble. A man in an impeccably tailored suit stormed through, his expression fierce, his presence commanding. Cameras flashed from the few students who lingered, their phones capturing a man whose wealth could not just buy influence, it could demand attention. Mr. Thompson blinked. Ethan's tears paused, replaced by wide-eyed disbelief. "I've been looking for you," the man said, voice booming and authoritative, but edged with something softer, almost like recognition. The boy's heart pounded. The billionaire was standing there, scanning the hallway as if searching for someone he'd lost long ago. And then his gaze landed on the janitor. Mr. Thompson, used to the shadows, to being overlooked, straightened slightly, unsure how to respond to the sudden intrusion of someone from a world so far removed from the bleach-stained tiles and scuffed floors of his reality. The man's expression softened, almost imperceptibly. I remember what you did." Ethan's breath caught. What do you mean?" The billionaire's eyes flicked to the boy and then back to Mr. Thompson. "Years ago, someone showed me a kindness I didn't expect. Someone believed in me when no one else did. I haven't forgotten. And now, it's my turn to repay it." Mr. Thompson opened his mouth, then closed it. Words seemed inadequate. The hall felt charged, the air thick with a strange mixture of disbelief and hope. Ethan, unsure if he should speak, whispered, He's a billionaire." "Yes," Mr. Thompson said softly, a small, incredulous smile breaking across his face. "Yes, he is." The man stepped closer, extending a hand to Mr. Thompson. "You once helped me when I was just like him." His gaze shifted to Ethan. "And now, it's time to help the next generation. Will you trust me?" Ethan's tears returned, but this time, they weren't entirely of sadness. A spark of something else glimmered in his eyes. Hope, possibility, and the fragile understanding that sometimes extraordinary kindness can find you in the most ordinary places. And with that, a new chapter in their lives was about to begin, all because a small act of empathy once saved a boy, and now, it was saving another. Chapter 2. The next morning, the school cafeteria smelled of burnt toast and oversteamed coffee. Mr. Thompson, usually invisible among the chatter of students, sat at a corner table with Ethan. The boy's backpack had been set aside, his uniform still rumpled, but there was a new attentiveness in his posture, a subtle tension mixed with anticipation. "I don't get it," Ethan muttered between bites of soggy scrambled eggs. Why does he care about me? Why does he care about you? Mr. Thompson stirred his coffee, taking a slow sip before replying. Sometimes, kindness comes back in ways you can't predict. He's seen me at my worst. Someone showed me the same kindness once. And now, he's paying it forward. Ethan stared, his mouth half open. Paying it forward. Yes, Mr. Thompson said. You help someone without expecting anything in return. And sometimes, years later, it comes back to you. Stronger than you could imagine. Their conversation was interrupted by the sudden arrival of the billionaire himself, walking through the cafeteria doors as though he belonged there, a presence both commanding and gentle. Students whispered and gawked, phones out, but the man's attention was fixed entirely on Mr. Thompson and Ethan. Good morning, he said, smiling but with the gravity of someone who had seen too much of life's harshness to waste words. I hope you're both ready. Today is important. Ethan's eyes were wide. Important? What are we doing? You'll see, the man said, kneeling to meet Ethan's gaze. Sometimes, the smallest moments can change the course of your life. Today is one of those moments. They walked out of the cafeteria, passing the indifferent eyes of classmates, through hallways that suddenly seemed smaller, more confined, more ordinary. Yet in this ordinary space, something extraordinary was happening. A boy who had felt invisible was about to witness the tangible power of human kindness, and a janitor, unnoticed for decades, was about to be recognized for quiet heroism. They reached a classroom, and the man turned to Ethan. Look around. This is where many give up. But not you. Not today. Ethan swallowed, his hands clenching into fists. I don't know if I can. You can, Mr. Thompson said softly. You already have, just by showing up. The billionaire nodded. And I will make sure the world notices. You'll have a chance to shine, to prove that kindness and courage aren't just words, they're actions. By the end of the day, Ethan had learned more than equations or history lessons. He had learned that sometimes, belief is more powerful than talent, and support can elevate even the most doubtful heart. And somewhere in the background, Mr. Thompson smiled quietly, knowing that the kindness he'd shown once had finally come full circle. Chapter 3. By midday, the school auditorium buzzed with nervous energy. Ethan sat on the front row, fingers gripping the edge of the seat, heart hammering. Mr. Thompson stood silently at the back, a quiet pillar of reassurance. The billionaire strode onto the stage, his presence commanding attention. A hush fell over the crowd. Teachers glanced at one another, students whispered, and the air seemed thick with expectation. This is it, the billionaire said, voice clear and resonant, carrying over the murmurs of the crowd. Today, you will see the power of kindness, courage, and standing up when others give up. Ethan's stomach twisted. He had never been in the spotlight like this before. His classmates, the ones who had laughed at him, the ones who had whispered behind his back, were all watching. The auditorium felt enormous, oppressive almost. Then came the first demonstration. A mock trial, orchestrated by the billionaire to show the consequences of bullying and the value of empathy. Ethan was cast as the defendant, representing himself, his fear and uncertainty now very real. The accusers were students who had previously teased him. They stepped forward, confident and smirking. But the billionaire guided Ethan carefully, whispering reminders of courage and clarity. Focus on the truth, he said. Your honesty is your power. Ethan took a shaky breath, stood, and spoke. His words, halting at first, gained strength. He told the story of how he had felt invisible, laughed at, dismissed. He described the sting of isolation and the unexpected warmth when Mr. Thompson had offered a listening ear. The auditorium went silent. Even the teasing students faltered, caught off guard by the boy's sincerity and the depth of his courage. Mr. Thompson's eyes glistened with unshed tears. Then came the shocking moment. The billionaire, standing beside Ethan, revealed a hidden camera montage. Clips of students who had bullied Ethan, caught in acts of unkindness, were displayed. The reactions ranged from shock to guilt. The hall murmured with disbelief. This, the billionaire said, his voice firm, is not to humiliate. It is to teach. Every action has consequences. Kindness matters. Empathy matters. Courage matters. Ethan felt a rush of vindication. The laughter that had haunted him seemed distant now, replaced with something heavier, more tangible: respect. The once smug students now understood the gravity of their actions. The demonstration ended with a standing ovation. Ethan's classmates, even those who had mocked him, applauded genuinely. Some approached him afterward, eyes lowered, voices quiet with apology. For the first time, Ethan realized that courage coupled with honesty could shift the balance. That kindness, even in small doses, could create ripples strong enough to be felt by everyone in the room. Mr. Thompson approached him quietly, placing a hand on his shoulder. "See," he whispered. "You already have what it takes. Always have." The billionaire nodded approvingly. "And never forget this moment. Let it guide you in life. Stand tall, even when the world doubts you." Tears streamed down Ethan's face, but this time they were tears of triumph. Triumph not just for himself, but for the invisible ones, for the unheard voices, and for the unrecognized acts of kindness that finally came to light. And in that auditorium, a simple janitor and a young boy had taught a room full of students the most profound lesson of all: that empathy, courage, and integrity could never be taken away. Chapter 4. Weeks passed. The story of the mock trial spread beyond the school walls. Local news outlets picked it up. Interviews followed. The billionaire took Ethan and Mr. Thompson to a foundation he had created, dedicated to supporting underprivileged youth. The janitor, once invisible, became a quiet hero in the eyes of the world. Ethan, emboldened by his experience, began tutoring younger students who struggled just as he had. His former bullies approached him, tentative at first, but slowly bridging gaps with genuine remorse. One day, the billionaire returned, this time with a proposition. "Ethan," he said, "you've shown remarkable courage and insight. I want to support your education, help you develop your talents, and continue spreading kindness." Ethan, overwhelmed, could only nod. Mr. Thompson squeezed his shoulder, pride evident in his worn eyes. Through the following months, Ethan thrived. Scholarships arrived. New friendships formed. The once shy, tearful boy now spoke confidently at assemblies, inspiring others. The janitor continued his quiet work, smiling as he watched the boy he had comforted blossom into a young leader. And then, a shocking reveal. The billionaire confided that he, too, had been a victim of cruelty and neglect as a child. It was only because of one small act of kindness, long forgotten, that he had survived and thrived. Seeing Mr. Thompson's simple, unwavering empathy mirrored that pivotal moment in his life. Justice, in its truest form, had been served, not through punishment, but through recognition, empowerment, and the cyclical return of kindness. Chapter 5. Years later, Ethan walked through the same high school, now a mentor and advocate. He greeted students warmly, remembered names, and recognized struggles he had once faced. Mr. Thompson had retired, but his legacy lingered in every corner of the building. The billionaire occasionally visited, proud of the lives he had touched indirectly. Ethan's story had inspired a foundation, a movement, and countless acts of kindness in schools across the city. One afternoon, as the sun set behind the brick walls, Ethan paused in the empty hallway. He remembered the tears, the despair, the moment he had collided with Mr. Thompson all those years ago. A gentle smile spread across his face. He whispered to himself, "Kindness comes back, always." And as he looked at the empty mop leaning against the wall, the sound of laughter echoed faintly, not mocking, but joyful, proof that life, with all its trials, could turn moments of despair into beacons of hope. The moral was clear, poignant, and unforgettable. Even the smallest acts of compassion can change lives forever, sometimes in ways you could never imagine.